Good day, viewers. It's another Friday, and you're welcome to Insight, your platform for a deeper understanding of issues in the polity. Today, as part of our schedule, we shall be taking a look at the inconclusive governorship election in Anambra State, as well as issues arising from it. It is perhaps not strange to political observers that Anambra is again playing out its character of political drama, filled with suspense and breathtaking actions. 3 days to the governorship election, at a stakeholders forum held in Oka, Professor Atairu Jega, the INEC chairman said, and I quote, "We have made meticulous arrangements to ensure that the election is free and fair. We want to make Anambra's election the best election we have ever conducted in this country," unquote. Well, that is now history and open to post-event evaluation. While Nigerians await a definite word from the Independent National Electoral Commission on who succeeds Governor Peter Obi as governor of Anambra State in 2014, Insight will be speaking with two important guests on what is fast becoming another dent on the image of the political umpire. The Nigerian economy is substantially road-driven. This perhaps accounts for the carnage that is daily witnessed on Nigerians' ever-stretched road infrastructure. The attendant loss of manpower, traffic congestions, bottlenecks, and other associated problems are taking negative toll on the economy that is struggling to survive. Realizing the importance of developing other means of transportation, the federal government under President Goodluck Jonathan has so far displayed an unusual commitment to developing the rail transportation system, which had gone covetous over the years. Our special interview segment will feature Prince Sheyi Sijoade, the Managing Director of Nigerian Railway Corporation, so stay tuned. As usual, my co-anchor, Eniton KDG, is prepared to serve you with media review. Eniton, good morning.
Good morning, Femi. Thank you very much. Good day, viewers. It's always a delight to host you on Insight, and I'm sure that today we'll have a great moment together on all our segments. Later on our review of the media this week, we shall look at issues arising from the non-presentation of the 2014 budget by President Goodluck Jonathan and see how the reportage by the media satisfies ethical standards. Also, we shall be looking at reports on the alleged arrest of a prominent businessman by an online media and ask the expert in media relations some questions on the style of news reporting in the new media. This and a few other issues on media review shortly. Once more, it's nice having you on Insight.
My name is Femi Adefila. When we return, our discussion segment is next. You're welcome back. No doubt, going by the preponderance of condemnations, knocks, and complaints from observers and stakeholders across the sector, Saturday, 16th November, Anambra gubernatorial election fell below Nigerians' expectations. Cases of eligible voters with valid voters' cards not being able to perform their civic responsibilities because their names were not on the voters' register, late arrival of electoral materials to polling units, late arrival of electoral officers, and the case of Injemili North local government are cases in focus which cast aspersion on the process. Observers and stakeholders have alleged shoddy logistic arrangement on the part of INEC, while others say INEC repeated too many common mistakes. However, while PDP, APC, Labour Party cry foul, APGA has given kudos to INEC for a job well done, despite what he called the few hitches witnessed. But all these inputs and lapses become a source of worry when one takes into cognizance the fact that 2015 is around the corner. With me in the studio to discuss the Anambra election are two veterans in that topic. I have Kachi Onoloju, Business Scholar, Heritage Enterprise Institute. You're welcome.
Thank you.
How's it been?
It's beautiful, and I'm very happy that we're at a learning junction again.
Thank you very much.
Election-wise.
Yeah, and of course, from Anambra, I have Law Mefo, a public affairs analyst.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm here again.
In call, I was there 2 weeks ago. You were here, and we discussed the same topic.
And we did some predictions.
So, I want to start from you. You're from Anambra State.
Yeah.
What's your impression or assessment of the election?
Avoidable mistakes, deliberate mistakes, manipulation, fraudulent practices, and general perpetration of actions that were meant to derail or skew the process to a determined outcome.
Will you agree with him that it was a
I don't
massive
agree.
failure?
There is only one new thing in the Anambra election that doesn't happen. All the hitches normal which been going through the history of elections in Nigeria. The only thing that was new was the cleanup. And it was that INEC cleanup due to double registration
Before we go to
that actually brought this
registered
Yes.
palaver or challenge, Professor Atiku Jega himself admitted that in the case of Germany local government,
Yes.
a certain EO actually compromised the electoral process.
That is true, and that's why I told you these are normal things we've seen over time in Nigerian elections. Compromising of elections, compromising of trust. It's been here with us for a very long time. The only brand new introduction is the cleanup. And that's why I think INEC must maximize its sensitization programs, because the cleanup was a real thing. All the other things we saw are things that normally come with Nigerian elections. But the one that is new is the cleanup, due to the voter double registration. Those who registered probably where they were before and then did another registration prior to 2007 election found out that yes, they were able to vote. But when INEC now committed the cleaning up of the newer registrations, their names remained on only where they first registered first. So what I thought INEC should do is to do this publication earlier and tell Nigerians, look, if you ever were in Jos or you were in Onitsha and you now went to register in Oka or in Newi, we will wipe out the new registrations and leave it. Or show them processes through which they could say, look, I have moved, this is where I am now, please register me here. And I think that is about that. If you look at the results so far announced, they honestly do reflect what we have on the ground. And don't forget, 16 of the political parties have already agreed that the election was clean. Apart from that, only 2. Legally, it's the parties that go to election, not individuals. The PDP has agreed and accepted the outcome the way it is. The ABGA have agreed the way it is. 16 different political parties have accepted the outcome, and we are looking forward to the further supplementary election. The legality of it is what you may ask, but we need to bring legislation to protect issues like this.
Yeah, Mr. Lomefo, voters register was a naughty issue in that election. What's your view about that?
Well, first, let me correct one impression. He said that the problem may be the cleanup exercise impact upon by INEC.
Yeah, that was what.
I'm sorry, it may not be the issue here. If you go to, I'm from Anambra State, and I was in Anambra State on November 16th. And because I had observer, clearance from INEC, I had the opportunity to move around Anambra State within the election period itself. It meant that I saw people vote. I saw people who came out to vote. I saw people who came out for accreditation. I also witnessed the time the various electoral officers arrived at the various polling stations. So I have first-hand information.
So what did you see?
People came out, so many of them, scores, if not hundreds of people came out and saw their names where they saw their names earlier displayed.
Okay.
Right?
At the polling unit?
At the polling unit. But their names are not found on the register. You don't call that
Is that what you're cleaning up?
No, please, okay, excuse me. No. Let me be done, please.
Okay.
Let me be done.
The cleanup.
Okay,
Hey, Dr. Katilu, let's
Okay.
So that we don't reduce it to...
Okay, please.
Listen, if it's a matter of double registration, your name wouldn't appear on what INEC displayed on the polling unit.
Okay.
But I am saying that I challenge NTA. Of course, your men were on ground there.
We were there.
I saw NTA crew, and they also witnessed it. They also reported it.
Now,
there are cases, you can find out from the units of NTA, that there are numerous cases of people whose names were there on the register displayed by INEC. On the polling unit, they had their voter's card on the election day, but their names were not on the register that was presented by INEC. And what does that tell you? What it tells you, it's not clean up. If it is clean up, INEC wouldn't have...
Let's look at it.
Yes.
Let's agree it was the cleanup. Do you think INEC did enough sensitization and mobilization and sensitization of people to the cleanup exercise?
No. And that's where because he's just speaking. A candidate who was a victim of this same cleanup exercise used the word cleanup. He knew that was it. It was explained to him, say, look, you're a registered person on Asia, now you're registered in your hometown. Okay, what INEC should have done is to earlier advise people. Yes, you may have seen your name on the displays, but better inform INEC that the older registration you did is not valid, that you will be voting so and so place. And there are codes to be done through the GSM, and this is where INEC did not do this properly.
Nwoye.
Yes.
Who was the
Nwoye
PDP?
agreed.
Who was the PDP gubernatorial candidate in that election? He actually voted during the last general election.
He did in the 2011
He said he
election.
voted. Yes.
And at
So
that
what
time,
happened between now and now?
yes, as at 2011, INEC had not done the cleanup. As at the Saturday's election, the cleanup occurred. And that's where I think INEC needed to have sensitized the public as to their need to do a cleanup. The cleanup is the issue. Yes, that's it.
This is totally misleading.
This is what
What he's saying is totally misleading.
It is the cleanup.
No, it's not.
It is the
Perhaps
cleanup.
I totally disagree. It's not a matter of
I challenge any of those people to go to court. If you go to court, they will bring the registers because you could be held for double registration. What it was is, if you lived in Onitsha, yes, and then you go to Oka to go and also register, your name will appear, and in 2007 you say,
Can I make an observation here,
it is the
please?
cleanup. INEC has
Please,
said it's the
please,
cleanup.
please, let
Please,
me
Mr. Law.
Hey,
Mr. Law,
can't see a minute.
Yes.
Please, listen, listen. INEC days to the election displayed names of eligible voters. The display ought to be the product of their cleanup. If they had done their cleanup, listen, hey, listen, no, wait a minute, excuse me, no, wait. Listen, can you just wait, please?
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Cleanup happened before the final display.
No.
Excuse me. There was a display.
That was the display.
There was a display.
Few days to the election.
Few days to the election, right?
There was a cleanup
now,
after
people,
the display.
no, wait a minute. Let me wait a minute. Just wait. I still do not agree with him. I totally disagree. If INEC did another cleanup after the display, which people went out to protect, they ought to do another display. If they didn't, you don't hold the people responsible. When they made it, I'm not done yet. It's their responsibility. You did a cleanup, right? And you want people to know where they will be voting for now, in case they did double registration or things like that. You show another display of where they will be voting now. If you go to your current area of registration and they can't find your name there, you know that you have to go to the old one, isn't it? Following a simple announcement. This wasn't done. So I don't think it's a case of, it's not a matter of cleanup. It's a matter of deliberate falsification of the voters register.
No.
That is my position.
That's an allegation.
You see
Yes,
the problem?
yes, it is.
From his explanation, law understands the truth. It's just that we, the elite, tend to bend it. Look, it's the cleanup that was the problem. During that display of voter registration, if you registered in Onitsha and you also registered in Oka, you will see both of them there.
Okay.
Then it is for you now to use the codings on the GSM phone as INEC advertised to inform that I will be voting in Newi or I will be voting in Oka, not in Onitsha. And what they will do is your name during the cleanup will be put into where you've now notified them.
No,
but people didn't do that.
Let's leave the issue of the voters register. I describe it as a naughty issue, and we cannot exhaust it.
We will learn from
Now,
that.
we are
correct as we go
definitely.
forward.
But one thing I want to ask you before I move to the next point is that prosecution of saboteurs within the INEC family, has INEC done enough in this regard?
No.
He has not done enough. He has not done anything in that regard. I listened
Well,
to Jega. He was saying that they have done, they've tried, they've done.
the culprit.
We know
to
they
the
haven't
police
quite
for
done. Listen, the issue is not even the willingness on the part of INEC to prosecute those who have been perpetrating this evil. The issue is the level of complicity involved in the process. The compromise is not among it's at the highest level. Whether you like it or not, like I told you, I was there. I am not saying I had. I was there and I witnessed the election first time. And Let me describe Anambra State. Maybe you haven't been there. Anambra is a small state, made even smaller by the network of roads. From Oka to the remotest part of Anambra State can take you more than 40 minutes. And yet, electoral officers arrive, there are various locations, few minutes to 12. And our protocol, they insisted on closing
registration.
Accreditation. Fighting the law. Then you ask yourself, what is it that was holding the electoral officers, the various, INEC officials, from arriving the various polling units in Anambra State between 6 a.m. in the morning and quarter to 12 in the afternoon? To the point that they now have only 15 minutes to do accreditation. And if you look at it and study what happens, you can see that those deliberate attempts by these INEC officials to absent themselves from duty where they should be, where they should have reported, is selective. It's not a general thing, it's all logistics.
Let's be futuristic.
The problem is all logistics.
Thank you very much.
The problem is deliberate. And it has to be probed. Otherwise, the guy is really going to plunge the country into a total chaos.
Thank you very much. Let's be futuristic here. Now, we've all agreed that the election witnessed a lot of issues. Now, we have a chance for a supplementary election to conclude the election, as it were. What do you think should be done to do so that we can get it right this time around?
INEC, as far as I'm concerned, has always been challenged. Historically, Jaga's INEC has conducted some of the very best elections in Nigeria's election history. We now have Anambra, a state without an airport. For you to get into Anambra, bringing in the materials, if, say, you have to either fly to the Asaba airport, to the Owerri airport, or to the Enugu airport, you need to look at the logistics. Now, even if, as you say, there were challenges, which we agree, there were hiccups, the reflection of the votes so far counted honestly reflects the truth about the strength of the parties on the ground.
Lord Mefo, please, I want you to answer this question quickly. We are looking at 2015.
Yeah.
And that is a major election that we have ahead of us, correct? What do you think INEC should do right so that we don't have a reoccurrence of the drama that we witnessed in Anambra?
What INEC has to do is to use Anambra State as an example. INEC has to retrace its steps and clean up the election in Anambra State, not through the so-called supplementary polls. How can you talk about supplementary polls when thousands couldn't vote and they had the right to vote? The first element that grounds any valid election anywhere in the world is a valid register. INEC must first arrive at a valid register and repeat the Anambra election. And let's see how Kachi's prediction comes right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But the election we owed in 62 outstanding units in them did not look at government.
It's not that is not true.
But election aired.
It's not true.
Across the state.
Across the state, but we more than, in nearly 50% of the polling units across the state.
That's not true.
Listen, sir, that's the point.
Not true.
You weren't there, I was there.
280.
I was there. That's the opinion of, listen.
Out of 4,000
That's the opinion of my,
This issue about the election.
Listen, I gave you the chance. No, wait a minute. No, it's not. It doesn't. No, wait a minute. I gave you the chance. I said that you cannot talk about a valid election without a valid register. And INEC doesn't have a valid register for Anambra electorate. That is the first thing they must do. If they don't do that, and I'm talking about supplementary elections, it cannot amount to anything more than a charade.
2015, that was my question.
That is what they have to do.
What should we do?
If they get it right in Anambra, they should go on and get valid electorate register across the country. That is the first thing, the first element that must be in place. Otherwise, we'll end up in the same manner, if not worse, than we did in Anambra State.
What do you think INEC should do so that we get it right? Don't forget that we have elections in Ekiti,
yes,
Osun,
yes,
and of course before the general election in 2015.
INEC won the cleanest and the best election in Ondo, the best.
It was applauded.
In Edo State. INEC has become challenged in Anambra. INEC will learn from that and correct its mistakes. You would not tell me because there were small hiccups.
Those hiccups weren't small, please.
Mr. Law before.
Yeah.
In 2014, we have two major elections.
Yeah.
In Osun and in Ekiti.
Correct.
And of course, 2015, we have a major general election.
Correct.
What do you think INEC should do right so that we don't have a reoccurrence of what happened
Get
in Anambra?
Anambra election right. And where INEC has to start is to get a valid register. First and foremost, is the first element, grounding a valid election. If INEC is able to do that, then there are other things enshrined even in the electoral laws that they have to insist on. Another thing they have to do is to ease out the officials that handled the Anambra election. They were hugely compromised, even Jega himself said so. Jega is a good man.
No,
and from academy,
he said an EO.
The name of that EO is Chukwu Jeku Okeke.
And
they should stop hiding him. He said it's Chukwu Jeku Okeke. Very soon I'll confirm his town and his family and give you the details. People like that should be exposed. But I also say he's not alone. The wreck has to be eased out. He may not have been compromised, but he has shown gross incompetence.
That's
what I'm saying. So get register of Anambra right, conduct free and fair election in Anambra State. People are saying continuity and change. Let them choose which they want. If they want continuity, so be it. If they want change, let them have it.
Mr. Kennedy, what's your take on this?
The law is very clear. According to the laws in Nigeria, once a returning officer has announced the results of an election, it can only be upturned by a court of law. And so the results as announced stand. What we should say is the hiccups and mistakes noticed in the previous election should be corrected as we go on to do the supplementary election. And then for the Ekiti 2014 and the other Osun, I will tell you that INEC is like a student. It's gotten Edo excellently well, Ondo excellently well, and other places excellently well. If there are 3 pins in Anambra, of which Professor Jega has publicly admitted and even gone on to say, I will do a repeat. I do not recognize the mistakes done to become valid. And that's why you see the supplementary that will happen in up to 208 different polling units. Now, INEC is doing well. INEC is taking a very gigantic job, driving Nigeria from the times of dictatorship with the same mindset of fraud. Anambra is actually just coming out freely. If you ask me, there might be hiccups, but what's happened in Anambra is something worthy of Anambra people being congratulated, that they've been able to, despite the hiccups, been able to even vote themselves. Now look at the figures. About 400,000 votes that's reported. It's just similar to the same number that voted in the last elections. The hiccups in store occurred everywhere. There was no selective geography that was purposely done to undermine any party, any candidate. It is a general hiccup, and let us just respect it and allow INEC to correct itself.
So
it has shown, yes, it's like Nigerian football team. If Keshi keeps winning Zambia, Malawi, Ethiopia, the day it makes mistakes with Morocco, don't kill him.
They will call for his death.
Just ask, and that's the problem with Nigeria. We're not patient at all, and yet we forget that a journey that goes to Maiduguri is a process of several days, not just an hour issue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Viewers at home, that has been Kachi Ononoju, visiting scholar, Heritage Enterprise Institute. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Lome for public affairs analyst, a regular face on this program.
The pleasure is mine, really.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome back. The Nigerian Railway Corporation traces its history to the year 1898, when the first railroad in Nigeria was constructed by the British colonial government. On October 3rd, 1912, the Lagos Government Railway and the Barrow-Kano Railway were amalgamated, starting nationwide rail service under the name Government Department of Railways. With the passing of the Nigerian Railway Corporation Act of 1955, the company gained its current name as well as the exclusive legal right to construct and operate rail service in Nigeria. From independence to the early 80s, the rail network transported the mass of the Nigerian people across the length and breadth of this nation. It made robust contributions to the nation's economic activities through effective freight systems. But the Nigerian Railway Corporation later entered a long period of decline, inept management, and eventually a complete lack of maintenance of rail and locomotive assets. In 1988, as a matter of fact, Nigerian Railway declared bankruptcy. However, events in recent past indicated that the sleeping giant is being revived and being positioned to occupy its vital place in the nation's transportation system. Mr. Sheichi Juade, the Managing Director of Nigerian Railway Corporation, is my guest this morning. You're welcome.
Good morning.
I must say that he is a chartered civil engineer and a management consultant with over 20 years' experience in reconstruction and remanagement. You're welcome. Let me start by asking you this question. You were given a virtually dead system to manage. How far have you gone with its resurrection?
Well, thank you very much, Femi. Yes, like you rightly said, what we inherited was a system that's been moribund for about 2 decades. In some parts of the rail line, we had the rails completely washed out, likes of Akeri, making it completely impassable. I couldn't have trains running from the northern part of the country to the southern part. And what we witnessed over the last 3 years is the federal government's commitment to repositioning the railway sector. As a result of this, as we speak now, over 90% of the existing 3,500 kilometers of narrow gauge rail is being rehabilitated at various stages of construction. We now have standard gauge new lines being constructed, Abuja to Kaduna, Ajaokuta to Itape. It's really been a lot of work. I mean, like in December 2012, we actually recommenced train services on the Western Line. That's the line that goes from Lagos to Kano. The main line has now been fully rehabilitated. We're talking about 1,124 kilometers of rail track.
Okay.
We're talking about signaling system. And as such, what you see today is about 6 trips of passenger services.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
I know you revived that December last year.
Yes, December
You commenced
2012.
operations between Lagos and Kano.
Yes, indeed.
How would you describe the patronage so far?
Very, very interesting. I mean, what we're doing at the moment, I'll still describe as skeletal services. We're talking about 6 trips a week, moving over 6,000 passengers from Lagos to Kano. We have about 3 return trips from Lagos to Ilorin. Again, each one moving over 1,000 passengers on a weekly basis for each trip. We have mass transit trains going from Minna to Kaduna back to Minna the same day. We have 3 of that running in a week. Again, over 6,000 passengers. And then on the intra-city services, looking at Lagos Mass Transit, for instance, we have 16,000 passengers being moved on a daily basis through 16 trips. Likewise in Kaduna. So in terms of passenger services, we're beginning to see a very, very remarkable improvement. And the target for this year is a total of 5 million passengers. Now, talking about freight, on that same Lagos to Kano line, we recently, barely about 2 months ago, we commenced the well overdue movement of container traffic from Apapa Port all the way to Kaduna, Kano. Now we're moving about 100 containers, 40-foot containers, on a monthly basis to Kano. We're moving about 3,000 tons of cement from Iwekoro, again to Minna, Oshogbo, Minna, Kaduna, Kano. We're moving wheat for flour mills, again about 3,000 tons from their factory in Apapa all the way to Kano. So there is quite a lot going on, and what we're going to be seeing in the next 3 to 6 months is yet again another surge.
Yeah, at the forum, let me ask you this. You spoke about what we call 25-year strategic plan, action, plan of action that